guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. I'm having a good day. Today I want to talk about something that I learned from reading my devotional. I've been going through this devotional. It's called The Bible in 52 Weeks, a year-long Bible study for women. I highly recommend it. And week 3 is titled Everything is Purposeful. And basically it's talking about in Exodus 1-3, the story of Moses. So at the time Moses was born, the Pharaoh had issued a decree that basically said all Israelite males have to be killed when they were born. So Moses' mom gave birth to him, and like any good mother would do, she wanted to figure out a way to protect her son. Yes, he was born at a time when it was against the law to hide an Israelite male baby, but what did she do? She hid Moses to protect him. And I'm sure she spent so much time deliberating, what do I do? How can I protect my son but also get to keep him and love him? But ultimately the decision that she had to make to protect her newborn son was to send him away. So what did she do? She put him in a basket and pushed him away in the river, right? So thankfully Moses safely arrived by Pharaoh's house or whatever, and Pharaoh's daughter saw the basket with Moses and sent her maid to go fetch him. So ultimately Moses ended up living and being raised by Pharaoh's daughter. There's a whole lot more that happened in the story, but the main lesson that I learned from reading this, and this is the lesson in the devotional, is that sometimes in order to save something you have to release them. So let's think about what would have happened if Moses had not been sent away by his mother. Something that I'm sure a lot of mothers did at that time was trying to keep and hide their baby. And I'm sure this ended catastrophically for so many people. But Moses, under God's divine protection, was sent away. And that was the only way that God could not only save this baby, but ultimately save the whole nation of Israel. We know that Moses was the chosen person who delivered the Israelites out of slavery, out of Egypt. So I read this devotion at a time when I was experiencing something so parallel. So when I was reading this devotion, I was like, this is literally my life. So I have personally experienced many times in my life where I have really tried to control situations in my life and only failed miserably. I've tried to control my relationships, my finances, my job. I've tried to manipulate my life as if I am God of my life. And I am not God of my life. God is God of my life. And in those situations, by the time I finally give it over to God and put it in his hands, I feel like an idiot for even trying to have controlled those situations, because I can see how beautifully and effortlessly that God takes those areas of my life and just completely makes them new, makes them beautiful, makes them thrive. And it just makes me feel like an idiot for even trying to have controlled my life. People are really trying to be the God of their own life. And to be honest, you will only fail miserably, because there are things that God knows about my life that I don't know. There are things that God has planned for my life that I still don't know. So how can I try to be in control of something when I literally only know what I know in this season? It just parallels so much with Moses' mom. Releasing Moses had to have been the hardest thing that she's ever had to do. But it was the only way that she could save his life. Isn't that that's such a tricky space to be? The only way that you can save something that you love is by letting it go. And that's not the case in all situations, but sometimes God does require us to give back to him the very thing that we're trying so desperately to save. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's your finances, a job. Sometimes God cannot save that thing while it's still in your hands. So you really need to be prayerful and really pray to God for guidance. What can I do with this thing? How can I protect this thing that I'm trying so desperately to save? And sometimes God will surprise you and tell you, You have to let it go. Like, you cannot have this thing right now. It will not survive in your hands. If you're trying so desperately to hold on to a relationship, or trying so desperately to keep your finances afloat, or trying so desperately to keep your job, like, sometimes the worst thing that you can do is try to hold on to it and try to protect it with your own strength. Because sometimes, like, God really needs to show you, like, you cannot save this thing, only I can. So do you trust me enough to let it go? Do you trust me enough to give it back to the person, or back to the one who gave it to you in the first place? And I learned this lesson so profoundly this year. Like, your hands have no power. You're not God. So you can try so desperately to try to save something or protect it from, like, dying, metaphorically dying. But ultimately, God is the only one who can save it. And sometimes you will not get it back. Sometimes it's not meant to survive. You know, sometimes God wants you to let something go because it's the end of that season, because it's just not something that is meant to manifest, not something that is meant to grow and thrive. Whatever the outcome may be, though, you have to be okay with knowing that God is going to do with it what he wants done with it. So I encourage you to surrender every area of your life to God. Your relationships, your finances, your jobs, your health, even, like, every single thing that you are trying to, like, control and save and protect and grow with your own hands, like, give it back to God. God is truly the only one who can be trusted with everything in your life. Like, I don't even trust myself. Having experienced all that I've experienced in my life and seeing how I end up doing just more damage to my own things, to my own life, because I'm trying to operate out of, like, a carnal mind, trying to operate out of, like, thinking that I am the only one who can be trusted, that I'm the only one who is capable of lifting myself up. Like, that is not the mentality that we should have as Christians. Like, we are not God. Not even over our own lives, we're not God. And the moment that we surrender to God and say that you really are Lord over my life, you're Lord over every area of my life, like, he will blow your mind. He will show you just what he can do when you place what you have back into his hands. We can see through the story that God not only saved Moses' life when his mom released him and sent him away. Moses' life was not only saved, but so many other people's lives. Like, Moses became the deliverer, the chosen deliverer to bring God's people out of slavery. So, like, you just have no idea how much more God plans to do with your life, or the things of your life, with your obedience. Like, give everything to God, and he might not only allow it to, like, survive and thrive at a base level, but he can exponentially blow your mind. Could Moses' mom have even imagined that her son would be the one man that God chose to bring the Israelites out of slavery? I'm sure she did not imagine that. And in the same way, like, you have no idea what God plans to do with your life. But it requires your surrender, it requires your obedience, and it requires you placing every area of your life in God's hands and trusting him to do with it what only he can do. Like, he can truly cultivate and bless and grow everything much better than you could ever do for yourself. So I encourage you to go read Exodus 1-3. It's the story of Moses. I also encourage you to get this devotional book. It is a devotional for women. I feel like it could be for anybody, honestly, but it will take you through the Bible in the span of a whole year, and it's, like, broken down so nicely, and then it relates what you've read to your life, and then it also has, like, questions, like reflection questions at the end of each week. So it's just a really good way to not only, like, read the Bible, but to reflect on it, meditate on it, and think on it, and apply it to your own life. So I pray that this video blessed you or encouraged you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.